Alright everyone, welcome back to another video. Last time we left off with Strasbourg succumbs to the French. Talking about the city of Strasbourg, and obviously it fell to the French. We're now on to V-bombs ravage southern England. November 1944. A rescue crew gives aid. A badly injured airman, his unconscious form strapped to a special stretcher, is gently lowered from the wreckage of a building in southern England, following the explosion of a German V-bomb. The Nazi horror weapon harassed southern England for months after France was liberated, but the English continued to take it. Yeah, so the V-bomb, obviously that they're talking about, is the German V-2 rockets. They're pretty devastating in terms of you can't really slow them down or stop them. No one really has that capability at this time. So for the English, this is a big threat. Did they do as much damage as they are proclaiming here? Not really. They did do damage, and they did affect the civilian population, but if I remember correctly, not many military installations were really hit. It's just a lot that really was spared. And so, how effective were the V-2 bombs? They were effective, but probably not in the way that Hitler would have wanted. Animals help and hinder the war. November 23rd, 1944. Dogs detect mine. Engineers of the British Second Army employed dogs to help them spot mines on the Helmand-Venlo railway at the town of America on the Western Front. The town was reached on November 23rd, and engineers immediately went to work to clear the railway for use. The dog in the foreground apparently has smelled out a hidden explosive. But while trained dogs helped to solve the mine problem, stray livestock that got in the battle lines created another problem. The two stray horses being brought in by British soldiers were placed in an enclosure behind the battle area. Animals were returned when properly claimed. Yeah, these are farmlands a lot of the time. You're going to have cattle, horses, sheep, goats, pigs even. You're going to have all this stuff that gets out and then gets in the battle. And, many of these men, they don't want to say kill these animals. That's not their plan. So they want to try to get them out of the battlefield. But it causes a lot of chaos in certain cases because you do have these animals and they are getting in the way. And you hope that many of these are returned, but how much is that actually happening? That's the other thing. Super fortresses bomb Tokyo in daylight raid. November 24th, 1944. A large force blasts industry. The capital city of Japan was subjugated to an air attack for the first time since April 18th, 1942, when a sizable force of B-29s based in the Marianas struck at the city's industry on November 24th, 1944. The large picture at the right shows the city's most densely populated sections as it looks from a super fortress. At the bottom of the picture, in the Sumidia River, and at the upper left is a drainage canal. The block-wide strips are wartime fire breaks. When our airmen bombed the Tokyo area, they flew over the Japanese Imperial Palace grounds and took the picture above, so right here, but saved their bombs for industrial targets. The palace grounds in the heart of Japan's congested capital are encircled by a moat, which is clearly visible in the picture. So yeah, you can see the moat that they're talking about here. It stretches all the way around. Yeah, obviously the bombings on Tokyo. Now, I'm not sure if they're talking about regular bombs here or fire bombs. The fire bombs are devastating. Tokyo is a city comprised mostly of wood. So when they drop these fire bombs, it does devastating damage to Japan, to Tokyo. And many of the Japanese cities were hit like this. It is a big blotch on this. I think the use of fire bombs was wrong. They should have not used them. I understand why they used them and why they felt they should have used them. And I think the reasons make sense. But the damage that it causes and for the outcome, I don't really know if it was worth it. A lot of life is lost here. And it doesn't really get you much further to winning the war. Truthfully, Japan really can't win this war at this point, you know. Yeah, they're putting up some fighting, but it's hard. It's hard to decide what would be the best choice. I understand they chose this choice, and I don't know if I could choose a different one. It's hard to say. Tommy's Brave Bullets and Mud, November 1944. On the British Second Army front. In addition to road mines, the dispatch rider above must push his way through knee-deep mud and water. Dispatchers were a prime target also for snipers. A young Hollander gives the messenger a helping hand. In the picture below, a tank crew under fire slogs through the mud to the protection of their armored home. So yeah, you can see, look at the mud. It's just awful. A lot of these places are, the lowlands. It's just mud. Like, they're called the lowlands for a reason. They're below, a lot of places are below seawater. There's a lot of reclaiming of the land. But if you remember, if you watched any of my earlier videos, they talked about that Germany flooded a lot of this land. So a lot of this land is just covered in water, and it's muddy. And if it rains really hard, it gets even worse. And so you have these tank crews and these dispatchers who are trying to get messages or trying to move up in their armored vehicles, but it's just a slog all the way through. And it really, really hampers the fighting here. And that's why the North has a lot more of a struggling time to push through certain places, and the Siegfried Line more specifically. The V-bomb terror in Belgium. November 1944. Civilians suffer. After the Germans retreated from France, they loosed their V-bombs against pursuing Allied troops and against Belgian and French towns. They were ineffective against military targets, but wrought horrible destruction upon civilians. The wounded and dead lie in the street of a Belgian town as a priest stands ready to administer their last rites. Yeah, so the Germans, once again, the V2 bombs, they're doing all these bombings, and it's mostly only affecting the civilians. By the time you fire them at military targets, they've moved. It's one of the reasons artillery also is not as effective as it should be. And so it's just, they're doing all this stuff, but it's really not all that effective. And it's just civilians are the ones who suffer. A miracle of supply at Leyte. November 1944. The ocean is no barrier. A bridge of ships formed a supply line to Leyte the moment the beaches were cleared. This armada of LSTs is shown pouring supplies ashore at a Tacloban airstrip. Yeah, look at the supplies. Like, one of the battles that we don't talk about as much is the logistical battle. And I think the people who had the logistical battle down the best is the United States. Yes, you could say, I'm saying that because as an American, but the United States puts, the logistics here is astounding. They get the supplies to themselves, to their allies. They are moving men, things like that. the United States Logistics Center is absurd. Not to say other nations aren't doing good. You know, Britain, it does pretty well. And the Soviet Union, after some very much needed time, get better. But it takes a while to get there. Where the United States, yeah, it took a little bit of time, but they got there a lot faster than their ally. Well, not Britain. Britain was fighting with a much more logistical supply early on. But the United States just has the resources and the manpower to be actually able to supply all these things and to have the logistics to do this. And it's just astonishing. And with that, that's going to do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Tell me what I could improve on. I always appreciate your feedback. And as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.